Shruti Smriti Purana Naam here or no? No. I forget. Namah Shri Shankarananda
Namah Shri Shankarananda
Guru Padam Bhujanmane
Guru Bhagavad Bhujanmane
Savilasa Mahamoha
Savilasa Mahamoha
Graha Grasaika Karmane
Graha Grasaika Karmane.
Let's chant verses 39 through 42. Linga bhane sushuptau syat
Lingamane sushuptau syat
atmano bhanamanvayah
Atmano Bhanamanvayah
vyaktirekastu tadbhane
Vyaktirekastu tadbhane
lingasya abhanamuchyate
Lingasya Bhanamuchyate
tadviveka dvidvikta syuh
Tadvivekadvivikasu
kosha pranamanodhiyah
Kosha Pranamayodhyaha
tehi tanna gunavasthat
Tehi tatra gunavastha
sorry tehi tatra gunavastha
Tehi tatra gunavastha
abheda matrat prithakritah
Vedamatra Pratakritaha
sushuptiya bhane bhanam tu
Sushuptamane Bhanamtu
samadhavatmanonvayah
Samadhavatmanodhyaha
व्यतिरेकस्त्वात्म व्यतिरेकस्त्वात्मभाने व्यतिरेकस्त्वात्मभाने सुषुप्त्यनवभासनम् यथा मुञ्जादिशीकैवे यथा मुञ्जादिशीकैव
Yata munjadishikaiva
actually makara should also be added. So yatha munjadishikaivam
Yata munjadishikaivam
atma yuktya samudhritaha
Atma yukta samudhrataha
shariratritayadhiraihi
Shariratritayadhiraihi
param brahmaiva jayate.
Param brahmaiva jayate.
So so we've been examining the value of doing Panchakosha Viveka. So maybe we can just pause and ask a question. How does doing Pancha Viveka help us in our life? Why is that important? So perhaps just think about it for a minute, and if you can explain that in succinctly, let me know. Raise your hands and tell me why you think Panchakosha Viveka is very key, which it is in our lives and for the student of Vedanta. Why? Yeah.
Because those are the 5 ways we make error in our identification with certain things. So
Because of what? Sorry.
those are the 5 areas where we make mistake in identification. So that's why it's very important to. It's a wrong identification. the mind or the eye.
Yes, yes, it's true. Anyone else? Yeah.
So I'm sitting here saying I'm feeling cold, so I'm already identifying with my body.
Yeah. Sorry, Sujata.
So that is how I can see why I am not one of those five. Basically to distinguish between the self and those koshas.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
By eliminating the five koshas as not me, what is left is me only.
Yeah.
So first I have to understand the five koshas and understand I am not that, and then what is left is me.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think all of you are saying the same thing, similar things. So, the Viveka, going back to just the importance of Viveka in general, and then looking at the Panchakosha element of that, what it really means is that I am missing the purity of the Atma. Not only the purity, that's just one way of looking at it. The entire glory of the Atma, the Mahima of myself. How much more Mahima can it be that I am not under the control of this world? And this world includes the time and the space, the elements, the power, all the sukha dukkha, the entire thing. And then the Shuddha Atma, this pure Atma, which is called Shiva, is not really under the influence of any one of them. This is an amazing fact. And the reason then I cannot do this, cannot have that understanding, is because I am so used to seeing it mixed with defects. I think that, that simplified example of the Akasha and Vayu should be kept in mind. The poor Akasha, which is basically Shuddha, basically just fundamentally very pure, uncontaminated by any dirt, any pollution, any color. It is just Shuddha. And the Akasha also is a good example because it is, really speaking, if it was conscious. The only thing that is missing is that it is not conscious, which is a big missing. But if the Akasha was conscious, had consciousness, it has consciousness because of me. So I have Akasha consciousness. And eventually, this is exactly what will have Chidakashaha, would be my understanding of the Shuddha Atma. And so the Chidakashaha is not really mixable with any dirt. But it is taken to be. It is taken to be impure. Why? Because the viveka between air and space is not done. I'm so used to seeing them together that I cannot distinguish between them. And the implications are enormous. There, the implications are not that enormous because I don't need to see pure Akasha. It's not necessary for me to see pure Akasha. But this is a very good example where the mix-up of the Vayu and the Akasha has some severe implications. Because that means now you take the Akasha to be dirty and the Akasha to be not lighted, to be dark, to be lighted, to have some color, blueness and pollution and heat. All of that is ascribed to the Akasha, when in fact it is not. And the Akasha, as you know, if you really look into it, is a very powerful, it is not just a Jada Vastu. There are an enormous, it is a container of enormous power. In fact, it is the very subtle expression of the whole Srishti, the very first one. And what the Shastra tells us is that the whole creation comes from Akasha. The forces of the Akasha give rise to Vayu. Vayu gives rise to Agni, and so on. So that's we studied in the Taittiriya Upanishad. So the Akasha is not just a ordinary thing; it's a very powerful thing. Just the Akasha. But anyway, going back to the question of how the Panchakosha Viveka helps us, is because I am seeing the Shuddha Atma, Mukta Swarupa Atma, the Samyak Vartamana Atma, the Pratyaka Atma, the independent Atma. I fail to see it because it is mixed up. I'm so used to seeing myself mixed up with non-Atma, which actually is the karya of the Atma. I am just like Akasha is the karana for Vayu. Therefore, the Panchakoshas are also my karyas. I am the karana for them. This is how the Ishvara decided to do it. There's probably no other way to do it, to have the creation. But leaving that side aside, the karana karya bhava, it's just that I do myself a great disservice by not investigating the pure Atma, Shuddha Atma. And I don't know how to do it. I don't see it's possible. I don't see the necessity for it. Until we study the Shastra, and this is the secret of Vedanta. Because Vedanta says, hey, there is something funny going on that you need to investigate. There is, in fact, an unlimited vastu which has been made limited by its inability, by your inability to distinguish between the koshas and yourself. This is how important it is. So ultimately, this should be well understood and remembered, and you should remind yourself that really everything that we do in terms of our study and so on and so forth is to enable us to do viveka through vichara. Vichara is the thinking, is the one method of gaining freedom. There's no other, everything else is a preparation for it. Going to classes, studying what the Shastra is saying, everything else is to enable. This is what we call Atma Kripa. So Ishvara Kripa and Guru Kripa and Shastra Kripa all enable the most important Kripa, which is Atma Kripa. And Atma Kripa means the ability to think, and the ability to not just think in general, but the ability to discriminate between Shuddha Atma and Ashuddha Atma. This is how important this is. And the reason we don't do it and justifiably so, is that we're not equipped to do it. We haven't really, you have to make your mind very subtle to distinguish between air and space. It's a very subtle distinction, very important distinction. You can make a distinction easily between a table and space, but between air and space it's more subtle. So similarly here also, as we will see, ultimately what we have to do is to prepare our mind to distinguish between myself, the Sakshi, and myself as the Jiva. This is what needs to be done. And I don't know there is any difference. I'm seeing, I'm hearing, I'm talking, and this is me. But there is an enormous difference. Why? Because the talking, walking, thinking, me is close to the Sakshi, as a reflection in the mirror is close to the person standing in front of the mirror, and it is close to, like a role is close to the actor. It's not the same thing. And just that small error that we make has enormous implications, absolutely mind-boggling. You can't even think about it. It is that enormous. It is just like, as we have talked many times before, that suddenly if you're given $100 billion, forget about 100, just $1 billion, $100 million, I don't know what I would do. I would act crazy. I will be in a kind of a state of shock, and I would not have absorbed it. I'll just be walking around, and it will just seem like words. The first person who will congratulate me, and very justifiably, is the lawyer who arranged it for me, because he gets $1 million out of it. So he'll say, "Congratulations, congratulations." So those are words. And then slowly it will dawn on you. But this is exactly the same way. We have no idea what the Shuddha Atma means, the Sakshi means. And so, you know that joke that I have repeated many times before is a good one. That this man had a heart problem and he won a lottery, and he was out of town, so he told his wife that, "Listen, make sure that you check this ticket because the lottery is going to be announced." And she saw that and she says, "Oh my God, he won $1 million." And he says that he's going to drop dead from the shock of this. So she went to the cardiologist and he said, "Okay, let me handle it and bring him to the office." So then he broke it to in small steps. What if you win $50,000? So he says, "Oh, that'll be wonderful. You can have 5,000 out of that because you've been saving my life for a long time." So he says, "That's good." Then he said, "What if you win, $500,000? He says, $500,000? Oh, no, I can't think about it. That's just too much. So I'll give you $25,000 out of it." And then he says, "What if you win $1 million?" He says, "I'll give you $500,000. So then the doctor died of a heart attack. So his wife said, "What happened?" No, he asked his wife, "What happened?" He said, "You saved yourself $500,000. Otherwise you would have to give it to him. It's a good thing that he passed away." So similarly is our situation. We have no idea. It just looks like Panchakosha Viveka and thought, a little bit this. It looks like a textbook thing and we're struggling with words and so on. But the eventual thing we have to do is to be powerful. In fact, this is going to come in a minute on verse number 42. Dhiraihi. We need to be smart and powerful in our own minds to be able to absorb this enormous news. You can't do it. We'll collapse. And right now, if we just say you are the infinite Atma and so on, what does it do to you? You'll say, oh, interesting. It doesn't hit you. And it won't until you equip yourself to the point. So the one common thing to say here is that all that you do, study, this, that, or the other, pujas, everything, should all lead to equipping your mind to be able to do viveka between Atma and Atma. And there the Panchakosha Viveka is a very good way to do it. And then the Avasthatraya Viveka also, both of them. But Viveka is important. Anyway, that's the commercial. Now let's go to the verses. So what we saw was that to do the Panchakosha Viveka, the tool that you need to use is Anvaya Vyatireka. Anvaya Vyatireka. And so the Shastra, as Swami Dayananji was so good in pointing out, what it does is it uses a method to solve complex problems. And the method it uses is binary. So binary steps. Is it this or that? This our mind can say. No, it cannot be this. So the other one I'm not sure of, but this you eliminate. So okay. So it's like you reach the various forks of life. And each fork you have to say, what is it? Is it going in this direction or that direction? Sometimes it happens to us. We say, no, should I turn left? Or no, this is going towards the sea. I need to go towards the other side, so let's not go this way. It's not as though you are suddenly given 40 roads to do it. So if there are complicated things, then you have to divide up into some binary things. Shastra uses exactly the same thing. So the binary methods are very important. And the Anvaya Vyatireka is the fundamental binary method of doing Viveka. What it means is, all you have to do is to say, listen, if there are two things that appear to be together, is there a situation where I can find that one of the factors is still there but the other factor is not there? Find that situation. And Shastra helps us with this. So we saw that in the case of going from Jagrata Avastha to Swapna Avastha, your Sthula Sharira becomes absent. And now your Sukshma Sharira and you, both you and your Sukshma Sharira, are present. So eliminate the Sthula Sharira. That cannot be you. Or at least you need to understand that it's not you. Then you go from the Sushupti, from the Swapna Avastha to the Sushupti Avastha. And you find that even the subtle body also is eliminated. But you are still there. Because you come back later on and say, I slept well, so you must have been there. And so that means that you are not the Sukshma Sharira either. So now you've eliminated two sets of factors. Then, in verse number 41, as we saw in the last time, and we'll continue with that, you take the next step. And what is the next step? you can actually do samadhi. And in the samadhi, in your jnanamaya samadhi. Jnanamaya samadhi. Jnanamaya samadhi means that it is tinged with some knowledge. Some knowledge. And you can do a samadhi because in that samadhi, the one factor which was present in the deep sleep state along with you. And what is that factor that was present in the deep sleep state along with you? Karana avastha, Karana sharira. Karana sharira. Karana sharira means I don't know. I don't know. This is a sharira means it's a form of you. It's a form of you. See, the three shariras are all forms of you. One is your sthula sharira, which is the gross body, which is your form. Okay? And so the interesting thing is that in the sthula sharira, you also see it and others also see it. You may have a different idea than the others do. You may feel that, this often happens that I remember when you may have gone through the same thing. When I was a teenager, I had so much acne on my body. And as a teenager, you thought, oh my God, I must look so ugly to people because I think they're always looking at my... And people used to tell me, no, I don't know. Everybody has it. It's okay. Don't worry about it. But I was very specially, I just had the feeling that I should be without acne. And even now this happens. I just saw an article that the teenagers are very sensitive to it. So anyway, you look at your body differently than the others do, but you both look at it pretty much the same. Then you have the second set of sharira, which is sukshma sharira, which is the subtle body. And the distinguishing between sthula and sukshma is, you are the only one who can see the sthula is sukshma sharira, others cannot see it. Others can see some effects of it, but they cannot see the sukshma sharira directly. Your thoughts, you are the only one that can see it. Then you have the karana sharira. And the karana sharira, which in fact is the seed form for the other two. See, because the karana sharira means you and I really don't know who we are. This is the karana sharira. So this is the seed. This is the bija avastha. And what happens is that in the case of the Jagrat avastha and the Sushupti avastha, and not Swapna avastha, this bija, this seed becomes manifest. So you still don't understand. See, this is the thing. Karana sharira is true in all the three avasthas. I don't know myself. Karana sharira, that is a form, it's a very subtle form. You don't know yourself, which is common in all the three avasthas. But in the other, there is a fructification of that sharira in the terms of sukshma sharira and sthula sharira. In deep sleep, it is only karana sharira. I don't know myself. Now, in samadhi, even that disappears. That I don't know myself disappears. Karana sharira also disappears. And you are now, so this is what called jnana purvaka samadhi. If you have just the yogic samadhi, in our view, is not jnana purvaka samadhi, because there you may have some semblance some semblance of the fact that I am none of them. I am okay the way I am, and which is possible. It's very close to, it's a kind of like a simulation of the real Jnana Purvaka Samadhi. Here Swami Maheswaranji has pointed out one big difference between the yogic Samadhi, which approximates the Vedantic Samadhi, and the Vedantic Samadhi, is that the yogic Samadhi, your joy is very limited. You just feel good. In the Vedantic Samadhi, you cannot believe your joy. When you understand that the whole world is false and you are the reality, you are in fact the Brahman, we can't even, just I said, we cannot even imagine what that would be like. So anyway, that is the, but in any case, let's just look at Samadhi in general. So the Samadhi in general, as it says in number 41, Sushupti abhane bhanam tu samadhau atmanah anvayaha. So Sushupti abhane means when the causal body is not recognized, when there is an absence of the causal body. Causal body means the Karana Sharira. I don't know. That body, when that is absent in the Samadhi, that's the second one, that is the Vyatireka. But in Sushupti, Abhane, when it is not cognized, so this is Samadhau. The first line is saying in the Samadhi, Atmanaha Anvayaha. Atmanaha Bhanam tu is still there. But Vyatirekaha Atma Bhane Sushupti Anavabhasanam means that in Samadhi even the Karana Sharira disappears. So now we have achieved the full Viveka through all the steps that we went through. First of all, the Sthula Sharira was eliminated, Sukshma Sharira was eliminated, Karana Sharira is eliminated, and what is left behind is just the Shuddha Atma. When that happens, now you are knocking on the door to moksha. You are very, very close to it. And so now we need to look into this state of the moksha, or still the process of gaining this understanding. So in that example of the getting $1 billion that the lawyer gave you, or whatever number we came up with, now what you will do is you will recognize the true value of what you have. They say that there's a French saying called nouveau riche. Nouveau riche means newly rich. So when you are newly rich, so there are a couple of things that you happen. One is you are still somewhat insecure because you're not sure whether this money really belongs to you, or it hasn't been absorbed yet. And secondly, you are not very generous. You're still not very generous. So you're used to giving, $10 here, $15 here, something. When you go to a temple, for example, you can give $10, or if you're very generous, maybe 20, 40 or something. So the newly rich person, when he goes to the temple, he might give him maybe $50, but that's it. But when the absorption of this money finally happens to this person, he's simply waiting for the temple. If the temple says, "Sir, we want to start a new wing, but it's going to cost us $1 million. Will you finance it?" He said, "Sure. Anything you want." It doesn't make any difference to him. He's got $1 billion. $1 million doesn't. So here the attitude of a mukta person is totally different. When you have some problems, it is nothing compared to it. Nothing. I remember when I was working for IBM, and we had some project that I was working on, and it was very successful. We solved the circuit problem and so on and so forth. And it was so intense. I was working so hard, and I was not exercising enough, so I had a severe headache. But you know what? That didn't bother me at all. It didn't bother me because I was so happy with having solved an engineering problem. And but on the other hand, supposing you have an unhappy life of some kind, and you have a headache, it gets exaggerated. So anyway, see, the moksha is something unbelievable. We have to get ready for it, as I said earlier. So now in verse number 42, some instructions are given on how this viveka needs to be done. Having finished the entire tour of the types of viveka, now it tells you how do you do this viveka. So let's look at this. So yatha munjadi ishika eva atma yuktya samudhritaha sharira tritayad dhiraha param brahma eva jayate. So there is I've never seen this myself. I can only read it from the Shastra. There is a thing called munja grass. There is a munja grass. And it has a core called ishika. Ishika. So it has a very thin fiber, which is breakable. As Swami Maheshanji also pointed out, that it can easily break. And so it is used for a lot of very subtle things, for making some subtle things. In fact, in the old writing, the nib. So this is the natural nib. So you make a small portion out of it, and then you can write from it and so on. But only if you remove the ishika from the munja grass without breaking it. So it means that it is a very subtle process that requires a lot of practice. That's the example. So he says yatha, just like munjadi ishika eva yuktya samudhritaha. Yuktya samudhritaha. The yuktya here means through skill. So yukti here means, in the example, it would mean skill. And even the real one also, the skill is important, but there is something more than that, which I'll discuss in a minute. So yuktya samudhrita. Samudhrita means one which, let's just say, so samudhrita means one which is taken out. Samyak uddhritaha, one which is taken above what it was mixed in with, which was the grass. It is removed very carefully, unbroken, as it should be done by skill. Just like that is done also when sharira tritayat dhiraihi yuktya samudhritaha param brahma eva jayate. That let's look at the English translation. Just as from the munja grass its core is extracted, which is a good translation. Similarly, Atma, distinguished and ascertained through the yukti by the eligible persons, really becomes the limitless Brahman. Okay. So now this has so two couple of things. Let's look at the word dhiraha. Dhiraha, and this word is used very often in the Shastras, so we need to really understand this. The word dhiraha. Dhiraha has two meanings, and both of them are equally applicable to the eligibility. Dhiraha. One meaning of dhiraha is meaning intelligence, smartness, education through sharpness of the mind. So you find people who have really specialized in a subject matter, whatever the subject matter might be. It could be medicine, it could be yoga, it could be, law, engineering, anything. What you find is that in that field, if the person is highly educated, has spent a lot of time thinking about the subtleties of it and so on, he or she then becomes a specialist in that. So this is one meaning of dhira. So dhira means intelligence, smartness, specialty, the acuity of the mind. This is one meaning. The second meaning of dhira is in fact, Swamiji used a word that I was not familiar with. It's called prayasa. Prayasa. And so I had to go to a Sanskrit Hindi dictionary, which I have. And I saw that this afternoon. It says in Hindi, Shrama and Katinai. So it means effort, forbearance, not being disappointed by failures, having farsightedness. So this quality of the mind, which is different from intelligence, this just means fortitude. That you find, this is a very interesting thing, you find that, I remember when I was in high school and in college, you find that there are some people who are very smart. Very smart. They would always score, the top of the class and so on. Now, if you go and look back at their careers, they are not always the ones who really become very successful. And this is the reason. So there are other people who were smart enough. They were not maybe the top of the class, but they were plenty smart. But they had one quality, which is that I want to succeed in life, and I don't want to take any disappointments. And this is called emotional intelligence. Another one would be emotional intelligence. And so dhira here means, and so I think what we can extract from that is that the attitude that I need to have is, just look at this carefully, yuktya samudritaha, meaning I have to follow logic which is consistent with what the Shastra is saying. I need to be smart enough to understand that. In other words, the very basic Anvaya Vyatireka, how to distinguish in a binary form, all of that must be very clear to me. But even if it is clear to me, it has not made me free yet. Why? Because the logic is clear, but does it apply to me yet? It is not yet clear. See, this is what we need to be very careful about. And for that, what is necessary is the second part of dhira, which is prayatna, which is effort, and doggedness. And yes, this is what I have to do. Because what happens is that the truth about the nature of the Shuddha Atma is so much different from my experience that my old experience wins out. I tried for a while, and it looks good on paper, and yes, I think that I will do it. You even try it for a while, and then your life gets busy, then you get other things done, so on and so forth. Your same old occurs. Why? Because you have not really adopted the new doctrine in your life and really persevered with it. If you want to call it like an examination by Ishvara, then so be it. So be it. Ishvara says, is this guy serious? And you have to prove it to him. Because the truth seems obvious. Yeah, that should happen. Even there it has to be properly understood through a competent teacher. But suppose that's all done. You say, okay, this makes sense. But now your mind takes over and doubts come over. And here, so this is why in all of this Shastric literature, what needs to happen is that either you are careful in not adopting false logic, because we can fall for false logic easily, not fall for it. Or, and you don't fall for it resolutely. I mean, quite frankly, this is what happened to me, I don't know, maybe about 15, 20 years ago, even more than that. My understanding of the Sampradayic Vidya that I got from our teachers was so clear that I had no interest in reading any other book. No interest. And it is not as though I don't want to waste my time. I know what it is. I have to really adopt that as my lifestyle. That's what I have to do. Because it was not like, well, there's some problems and maybe I ought to look at these and maybe I should look at that. And so that never did happen to me, even to this day. And even now people will say, I found a very good book. You should read about it. And my only thing is I don't want to insult them. I'll say, oh, really? Where is that book? He said, oh, this is so wonderful. So I don't say give it to me or anything. I just keep quiet. And if they give it to me, I will not read it. If they ask me, I say I was very busy, which is true. Very busy. That's it. So because I think what happens is, so there's two kinds of things. Either you have a book which extols the very fundamental principles of the Shastra. Then why do I go for that? Because the Shastra, I have the direct meaning of the Shastra. Or there may be books who say, by the way, we have a new truth. This has never been discovered before. And actually this is the very reason why our various religions of the world need to be kept away. There is no reason why every person-made religion is based on the fact that I have found a new truth. People cannot find new truth. There is only Ishvara's truth, and we need to understand what that truth is. No, that's too complicated. Okay, then if you want to simplify it for me, fine. But don't start a brand new religion which has its own ideas and so on and so forth. But we do fall for it. we fall for it. And so this is what it is. Here, Swami, this is an important thing which Maheswaranji also pointed out, that this is all well known. Shruti matas tarka anusandhiyatam in sadhana panchakam. Sadhana panchakam, this verse applies. Shruti matas tarka anusandhiyatam. May you follow the tarka, the logic that the Shruti is offering you. Authentic. And what it is offering here is Panchakosha Viveka. So please follow that. Up to the level. Completely understand it. Yes. Karana Sharira, Sukshma Sharira, as we've been saying. Now you are positioning yourself for applying it in your own life. That is when the quest starts. After the understanding of the logic is clear. So this is now being described in the process on how to do it. So there, the first thing it is said is, you need to be a dhiraha. And both meanings of dhira apply here. First one hopefully you have already qualified, which is you followed the logic of it. The second one is the important one. It is just like those guys who were not top of the class, but they made something out of their lives. And they became contributors to society and so on. I've seen that in many of my friends. Those guys were not the best in the class, but they had a special quality. And so this is what is necessary for us to do. So, here the process is pointed out in various ways. For example, in the Chandogya Upanishad, it says Angushtamatra Purushaha. Angushtamatra means that it is, and also in the Taittiriya Upanishad it says that it is in your guha, in the cave of your heart. And so the cave of the heart means it is there, but hidden from your own view because of your habitual non-understanding between kosha and the Shuddha and the Ashuddha Atma. And the more you look into it carefully, slowly, as Swami Maheswaranji also says that, this understanding takes the whole life. Please give yourself enough credit. Don't say, I've been studying Vedanta for 2 years and I haven't made that much of a difference, so maybe I should do something else. Please. Not that easy. Just slowly imbibe it and be with the Shraddha that this is the right thing for me to do, and here is the method. So here the method, this method is Yatha Munjadishi. It's just like supposing someone is teaching how to extract this Ishika grass to some young person. And the first 20 or 25 times the young person will break it. And so he says, I can't do it. I'm not going to do this. And also on top of that, if the teacher says, you're good for nothing, you're not handling it. How many times have I told you this? And Swami Dayanand used to say that. And he used to say that to fathers. Mothers, it's not like it. Fathers are so dangerous to their children because they have an anxiousness that whatever I could not do in my life, I want my son and daughter to do it. It's kind of like a inverted insecurity. And so you really tell them, work hard, my guy. It's this, that, or the other. And when they don't do well, then you get impatient sometimes and you say, you know what, if you don't work hard, you'll never amount to anything. And Swamiji says, this is the worst thing you can do. You can slap the person. That's nothing, because the effect of the slap will go away. But to say something like this, that you will not amount to anything, I guarantee you, this is never forgotten. It remains in the subconscious, and a lot of the criminal behavior is because of that. So anyway, going back to this saying, this is a very careful thing. This is why with the students we have to this is why we repeat it. You find we're saying the same thing in many of the same classes. And it's because it needs a lot of repetition, a lot of practice. And our practice hasn't even started yet. We're still listening, we're still shravanam. So the real mananam is, I was telling you this, I think I was, now I understand. At that time I didn't. Because when I went to see Swami Taranandji, who was my Swami Dayanandji's guru in 1982, I went to visit with him in Rishikesh, in Haridwar, sorry. So we hold with the whole family. And we are just about at the end of our PRC course. And I was feeling, this is one of the problems, you get this false sense, I know a lot. You look around the people, they're just moving around, just doing something, and you say, you know what, I am so lucky, so smart. How did I get to be this point? These people, they don't know. And you try to teach them and they don't want to listen. He says, oh my God. I was feeling this superiority, which took me a long time to get rid of, really, honestly. So I remember going to Swami Taranandji. And so Swami Taranandji, I introduced myself that I've been a student of Swami Dayanandji. And he says, oh yeah, you are in some kind of a course going on, isn't it? I said, yes. So he says, what have you been studying? So I said, oh, we started with Tattvabodha, then we went this, then we did this, then we did Bhagavad Gita, then we did Upanishads, then we did some Ramayana, and then we started to do, I think by that time we had even started, I think Mandukya we had already finished. And then, he was just saying, oh, very good, excellent, excellent. Then he said something which just floored me, and I didn't understand why he was saying that. He says, in Hindi I'll tell you, "To abhi to sirf shravan ho raha hai, manan to baad mein hoga." I said, what the heck? I thought I'm done. Everything is done. Some nididhyasan is left, but but I didn't say anything. So I said, pranam, goodbye sir, and so on. Oh my God, how true he was. Even now my mananam has not really become that effective, but it's getting there. But really what it means is, quietly, you have to bring the logic of the Shastra to your mind and begin to see yourself as being independent of all of them. And then it starts to have an effect. You begin to appreciate the Mahima of the Atma, Mahima of Parameshwara. It's a feeling that is none other. And so that process is going on, and it is slow. It is not consistent. One day, even if you want to meditate and think about it, nothing happens. But other days, and so it becomes more and more frequent. So this careful, slow, methodical, skillful doggedness is the advice given by this verse. That's what it's pointed out. That just like any very difficult skill is mastered over a long period of time, this also requires that kind of a thing. So, I think I'm pretty much done with this verse. I think one thing that I would like to repeat and perhaps do this over and over again. This is the most important one. That ultimately I'll read it in Hindi, just forgive me, and then I will translate it. Just I want to give the exact words of Swami Maheshanand ji.
And what page number is this?
101. No, you don't have that here. This is the
My son, Hindi book.
Hindi book, yeah. So he says, I'll just do it in Hindi first, the whole paragraph, and then I'll translate it. युक्त्या से कि यहाँ दोनों अर्थ समझ लेना, सावधानी एवं अन्वय व्यतिरेका, which I've already explained. So अन्वय व्यतिरेका is the intelligent parts of it, and savadhani means careful with a lot of attention is the other reason for the dhira. इसलिए धैर्य की ज़रूरत इसलिए है, the reason for, in fact I translate it as I go along, the reason for this dhira, dhairya, कि पंचकोशों के साथ तादात्म्य इतना दृढ़ है कि उसकी जड़ रूपता जल्दी जंचती नहीं है. It is your identification with Panchakosha, which is jada, which is inert. All the koshas are inert. And you are the only Chetana. But you are confused between jada and Chetana. Why? Because it has been going on for so long that it is not obvious. पंचकोशों के साथ तादात्म्य इतना दृढ़ है कि उसकी जड़ रूपता जल्दी जाती नहीं है. स्थूल शरीर से विवेक की मुश्किल हो जाता है कि वो दृश्य है, मैं दृष्टा हूँ. That even with the sthula sharira, with the gross body, it is not easy to see that I am the drik and this is the drishya. This is what I immediately start making the distinction, indistinction between them because of my habitual habit. मन, बुद्धि और बुद्धि वृत्ति रूप अहंकार. So this is the one I want to really focus on for a minute. मन, बुद्धि और बुद्धि वृत्ति रूप अहंकार से मैं भिन्न है, ये समझना बहुत मुश्किल होता है. मैं हूँ, I'll explain, let me finish this segment. मैं हूँ में मैं अहंकार आत्मिका वृत्ति है, और मैं हूँ जो कि जान रहा है वो आत्मा है. परंतु इस प्रकार से मैं हूँ और मैं को जानने वाला हूँ, इसको अलग करना बड़ा कठिन होता है. इसलिए युक्ति और धैर्य की ज़रूरत है. धैर्य ही से ही इसको अलग करना पड़ता है. Okay, so now let's look at the translation of it. So he says that if you look at something which should have been relatively easy, even that is difficult, which is the distinction between the drik and the gross body. That itself has a problem. You have no idea how much more difficult it is to distinguish between yourself and the subtle body. Because the subtle body only you can see, no one else can see. And it looks more like you. Because the body has chetanatvam. It has your reflection of your life. It has the... Am I causing this? Yeah, I think I am. And so, even the body's reflection of the chetanatvam only comes in when you occasionally use the body. It's very not that, if you think about it, it's not only when you, supposing you have some problem or you're hurt, but otherwise you're dealing with the things inside the body is much more prevalent. So all the physiological functions, I'm hungry. So the I am hungry is a prana. Is a part of the prana. It is not part, is a part of the Sukshma Sharira. And more than that, you as a thinker, I think that is closer to you. It's very difficult to do. Finally, even much more difficult is to make a distinction. This is what Swamiji was just saying. He ended up by doing this. Even more difficult is to make a distinction between you, called the buddhi vritti, or the ahankara, and the sakshi. This distinction is not easy. It is there, but not easy to follow. Because it's interesting, you see buddhi vritti, so it is also called, for example, the Vijnanamaya kosha. It's also called Vijnanamaya kosha. So you have, you have Manomaya kosha, Pranamaya kosha, Annamaya kosha, starting with Annamaya kosha, then you have Pranamaya kosha, then you have Manomaya kosha, and then you have actually Vijnanamaya kosha and Anandamaya kosha. Even more. So let's combine those two for the time being, Vijnana and Ananda. What happens is that the Vijnanamaya is your ascertained conclusion that this is who I am. This is who I am. And you well ascertained it. And this ascertainment is reinforced by your experiences. You're the same person. You're the same person, at least in the Jagrata Avastha. In the Sapna Avastha, you're a different person. That's another problem that we have to solve. But in this one, on the Jagrata Avastha, you are the person. And everybody also addresses you. Hey, how are you doing? And you respond. You understand. So this gets really reinforced. This is me. The problem is this is not me. This is like air and the Sakshi is the Akasha. If we want to go back to that example, I think I don't know if I saw that somewhere or I made it up, I'm not sure, but I like it. This is a good example, the Akasha and Vayu. So, the Ahankara, the Vijnanamaya kosha, is very firm. This is my conclusion. Now, the Manomaya kosha and Pranamaya kosha reinforce it, but they have some doubts. So, for example, you can say, am I a good thinker or not? You're not sure. But the fact is that I am who I am. That one is Vijnanamaya kosha. Nobody has any doubt about that. And my mind is good or bad, I'm not sure. Here's what Swami Dayananji used to say that. He says, it's very interesting. He says that supposing I say some name I take out, Devadatta, a famous Indian Devadatta. Devadatta, or you say, is there any Devadatta here? So you'll say, no, it's not me, I don't know. You look around and say, anybody? Nobody raises their hand, nobody's there. But if somebody says, you fool, People say, is he talking about me? They'll fidget a little bit, No, I'm okay. But then maybe I am. So the foolishness is a doubt that dogs me. It's never not known that I am foolish. With respect to what? That's a different thing. So anyway, all I'm saying is that the Manomaya Kosha and all these reinforce the Vijnanamaya Kosha. This is why to distinguish between the me, which is a karya, which is an effect, and me, the sakshi, is an enormous difference. And I am ill-equipped to distinguish those two. I have to be a dhira. I have to work for a long time. And slowly that distinction will become clear to me. When that happens, you are done. So this is what it says in number 42. It says, Yatha munjadi ishika evam atma yuktya samudhritaha sharira tritayat dhiraihi param brahma eva jayate. You and Ishvara become one. In fact, the Sakshi is the Ishvara. And you, the Jiva, is borrowing the Sakshi's gunas and using it for become limited. Just like a room space borrows the spaceness of space and owns it and says, this is what I am. This is the problem. This is the process that is now pointed out. And this will be explained further. And in doing so, an important element of the Mahavakya, Tattvamasi, is now will be taken up. But what's happening?
It's not you.
No?
It's outside, external.
Oh, is it? Okay. So that will be taken up. But I think that the section on Panchakosha Viveka, I think, is pretty much over with the starting of all of this. So with that, we'll stop the class and take up the next segment next time. Om Asato Ma Satgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityo Ma Amritam Gamaya Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om. Excuse me just a second. A lot of new people have come in, so make sure that you give the chocolate if there's still left. This is in thanks to Lakshmi overcoming her cancer, and she's back after 1 year of absence. So it is for giving thanks to her. Okay, sorry. Yeah.
So I've been having trouble with this currency here today. How do you certify it along the lines where we see two Sharira disappearing in dream, and then both of them disappearing in Sushupti? When it comes to current Sharira, whether it's there or not there, we never certify it.
So the question, yeah, I'm going to, I know. So the question is, and so you used an interesting word, certify. So I'll just repeat the question and then perhaps explain the question. He says that I'm having trouble with Karana Sharira. That how do you, I can see the Sukshma Sharira and the Sthula Sharira, but how do you see the Karana Sharira? Right?
See the absence of it, the absence or presence of it.
Yeah. So there we can say, so in all of these cases, the what you see, right, really speaking, is the effect of the Sharira. See the effect of the Sharira. So the effect of the Karana Sharira is that my true Swarupa is unknown to me. That's it. That's all. That's all. So there, that's all you need to know is that there is. So in fact, it's interesting. The Karana Sharira and also all the Shariras are the expressions of Maya Shakti. So it is said in our Shastra that you never see the Shakti. You can never see the Shakti. You can feel it. You can feel the effect of it. Like, for example, you can never see air. But if the leaves are moving, then you can say, yes, there is air. So similarly, in the Karana Sharira, you don't see it as because it is so subtle, but because it hides me from myself. It does not allow me to see my old Swarupa, therefore it must be there. And in fact, this is so the ignorance is a very important, very interesting thing. That you can be looking at someone and not know who that person is because of ignorance. So
So somewhere earlier we read that, right? The main function of Karana Sharira is the rebirth. We took the rebirth because there was unfinished.
That's only one aspect of it. I think the entire prapancha, is due to Karana Sharira. The entire world, the whole Maya Shakti, is due to Karana Sharira.
And I have no problem accepting that. The problem starts when you go to this avastha, the last paragraph, in not avastha, samadhi. When we begin to say, in samadhi, which is neither sleep nor dream state, even the Karana Sharira is not cognized. So
the definition of samadhi, leave aside the yogic samadhi for a minute. Okay? So the nididhyasanam, which is based on the Shastric principles of, so there what you will see is, I am but formless. I am. You just say I am. And by the way, later on, there's a lot to be said about it. There's quite a bit to be said. So all three factors of I am, all in the same, they're not separate factors. They all contribute to a complete understanding of who I am, will be Satyam Jnanam Anantam, or Satchit Ananda. So there, I am independent of anything. I know I am because the knowing part of myself is the easiest one. Because you say that you can easily see that overlaying all my experiences is I know. This is very easy to see. I know, I know, I know. But what is not easy to see successively is that I am independent of anything. So this is called Satyam. Jnanam you can see. Satyam is a bit more difficult to see. The most difficult is Anandam. that also needs to be explained, and we will. We haven't even looked into that as well. Yeah.
So, at one point we said that the mix-up is between the Shuddha Atma and the Ashuddha Atma, but
Mhm.
Ashuddha Atma is not accurate. Better when it's
Ashuddha
Anatma,
Atma
right?
means that everything is really just nothing but a manifestation of the Atma. So then you have, in fact, do you know that the wall which separates the room space from space is a condensed form of Akasha. It is, if the molecules, all of those are there in the Akasha in a very subtle form. And then the molecular structure of the Vayu comes in and so on. And so then Prithvi. So it is kind of like saying, supposing you have a iceberg which has a big hole in the middle of the iceberg. So kind of like a hollow iceberg. Inside also is water, outside is also water, and the iceberg itself is also water. And so everything is nothing but Atma alone. So if you can say that the iceberg is an Ashuddha water in that sense, that it doesn't have flowability, it has some solidity to it. And the solidity is unstable, because you just heat it up, it becomes water. Because water is not, it's stable in that sense, you can heat it up. So in that sense, the Ashuddha Atma is, all it means is the Upadhi of the Atma. It all comes from the Atma itself. Sorry.
And another question is that, like air, we were comparing the Vijnanamaya Kosha to air, right? And then we were comparing, I think I heard you say that Anandamaya Kosha is like
No,
Akasha.
Ananda and Vijnanamaya, combine them together is the air, yeah.
Not, okay.
Because it is Anandamaya, not Anandam.
Ananda, yeah.
In fact, we went through this in the Taittiriya Upanishad. We will perhaps redo it one of these days. Then it says that Anandamaya also is a manifestation of Ananda. So when you say, I'm very happy, that happiness is also an expression of the Ananda. It is not the real Ananda. Why? Because when you say, I'm happy, you also mean that I'm temporarily happy. You don't say this is going to be me for the rest of my life. You also say that and you don't feel that. Yeah. So Anandamaya and Vijnanamaya are combined together. Yeah.
If the walls are seen to be Akasha also,
Yeah.
then there's no room left.
Yeah.
Which seems like if all ignorance is to go away, there's no creation left.
So there is in the moksha there is no creation. In the moksha there is no creation because you are the Satchidananda. There is no there is no prapancha, nishprapancha prapachate. So yeah, and it's a very beautiful state. At least in the closest thing to that is a deep sleep. There also you are hidden from yourself. You don't know that you are happiness. You only feel it after you come out of it. But here you know that you are your Ananda. Very peculiar feeling. We'll see it sometime, hopefully. Yeah. Yes, sir.
So in verse 42 we talked about Munj and Ishika. So can we treat Ishika as Anuvai and Munj as Vyatirek? Because we are taking out.
Yes, I think you could do that, but that's not, you don't need to extend the Anvaya Vyatireka to that part. That is over. So then the Atma is the Anvaya in Samadhi. So in verse 41, the Atma, the discussion of the Anvaya is over. Here it is simply pointing out the skill with which you do the Anvaya. You see, so Ishika and so on, it is not, there's no need to extend the Anvaya Vyatireka to this. And it's not really doing that. So that if you want to do it, you don't need to do it. Because the whole tour of the Anvaya Vyatireka is over with 41. You close that off. Now it's a new topic to say, how do you do Anvaya Vyatireka? It's pointing out that the Anvaya Vyatireka is not that simple. Why? Because then if we simply say, oh yeah, it's absent here, okay, I'm done with. No. Because your mind is still conditioned by the old way. You are combining the Shuddhatma and the Ashuddhatma. And the way to do this is to do it very slowly with a lot of care. That care is being explained by the Ishika and Munjika. That's all. Yeah.
And the reason I asked,
Uh-huh.
because it talks about 3 bodies, right? Avasthatraya. So that
Yeah.
means you are pulling that from the 3 bodies.
That part is okay. Yes. Yeah. I think that you're right. It could be done in that manner. Yeah. Okay. Yes, sir.
In reading the translation, it says Atma becomes Brahman.
It's just a way of saying that it already is Brahma but doesn't understand it. So just like a room space is already space, but it insists on saying I'm not space, I'm only room space. And then when it is explained, then he says, oh, I didn't realize it. Yeah, that's all that happens. You had an announcement?
Yes, please. As many of you as can come on Sunday at 5 o'clock to the Jain temple to help us set up. And so we have a regular crew that